Okay, chapter 4, understanding differences. We're going to talk both about cultural differences, language differences, and then um, developmental differences, what we used to call language speech impediments. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go through here. In this chapter, we're going to talk about standard and non-standard English, what a teacher's role is with children who speak a dialect, your early childhood center's language program for second language learners, and common speech programs. Okay, problems. A multicultural classroom. So, a multicultural classroom is one where there are different cultures, children with different backgrounds, maybe different languages being spoken, maybe just different dialects being spoken. So, we know that there's a trend for more Spanish speaking children in the United States, and it is expected to continue. Early intervention is programs that can help children have learning opportunities early and also target specific areas where they need special help with development, right? Um, so here they're talking about early intervention really being giving children opportunities to learn, having literacy programs for all children, helping them expand their language development, pre-reading skills, etc. We want to do child-focused and child-sensitive approaches, which are developmentally appropriate. We want great experiences where children can learn, a wonderful environment where they can learn, someplace they feel comfortable. The things that we know are that children who are comfortable and secure have a much easier time learning, and we need to give them the freedom and the security to do that. And of course, we as teachers are important. Standard English is the English which I am using to speak with you right now. Standard English is the uniform, formal, and informal speech and writing of educated people. It is the generally the language that you would speak to me in the classroom. It's what our textbooks are written in. It's what, generally other informational texts are written in standard English. Okay, that's sort of the generally accepted way we use English. There you go. Now, we do have non-standard English. Non-standard English are dialects. So what we've called in the past Ebonics or Black English is a dialect that has its own rules and patterns, okay? A dialect is a sort of like a subpart of a language. So it takes the general form of the English language, but then it imposes its own special rules on things. And so it's not just Black English. There's, Southern English, or I don't know if there's like Western, but it's rules that are specific to a group or an area that are different from standard English, right? So there you go. What is your role? Your role is to understand that many people speak many different ways. So you need to be respectful of all the ways that people speak, while still at the same time helping them learn standard English, because that's what we teach in school. Helping them understand that their competence is not tied to a particular language or dialect or culture. And you need to understand that too, that you can be smart in any language or from any culture, and that you can understand things in any language and from any culture. And you want to just make sure that there's a certain amount of respect in all of your teaching. You want to model standard English. So you want to speak to them as you want them to speak to others, right? Promote daily conversation to build language skills. Lots and lots of conversation, lots of talking back and forth. And that's not, I'm talking because I'm telling you to put your shoes on. I'm talking because I'm telling you to put the Legos away. We're talking about what you did yesterday, or we're talking about what kind of new pet you have. Those are conversations, and that should be most of your talking. You need to be patient. You need to watch and learn how kids are learning and how they're speaking. And you need to take each child individually and build on what they know and where they need to go. Don't make harsh corrections. When children make mistakes in speaking, it's because they're still learning. So having a teacher yell at them for saying something the wrong way is not going to help them say it the right way. Having a teacher who says it the right way, model that and say, oh, is this what you meant? That is going to help them. Don't allow teasing about dialects. When someone else is speaking in a different way, it's okay. And you need to make sure that children know and understand that. Don't interrupt children trying to express ideas. Sometimes it's so hard when they can't get the ideas out. They may stutter. They may have trouble finding the vocabulary for what they're talking about. They may be all over the place. It's important that you pay attention and wait for them to come to what they're trying to say. Don't say, are you trying to tell me that? Let them do it. And putting children in stressful situations is never a good idea, ever. In 2001, there were over 4 million English language learners in U.S. K through 12 schools. By 2025, more than half of school-age children in the U.S. are expected to be members of minority groups. So I don't know how you can be considered a minority when your groups are making up more than half of the population. But because it's scattered among different groups, it becomes minority groups. But the way that we say this, by 2025, the United States school age population will be majority minority. And another way of looking at that is to say, by 2025, more than half of school age children in the US are expected to be people of color. Okay, so that is not European American origin. So majority minority, we will be a majority minority country in 4 years. That means that there are so many people in this country who have different backgrounds and different experiences. And it's so important for us as teachers, as educators, and just as people to be respectful and to understand and try to understand and to wonder and to learn about all of those people's experiences. Because all of those people's experiences and backgrounds help us know ourselves better and know what the world is really like. Bilingual learners, a language background is other than English, and they develop proficiency in their primary language or their home language, and they develop some proficiency in English. So a bilingual learner is someone who is most likely speaking Korean or Spanish or Greek or something at home and speaking English, learning English at school. This is okay, and this is good for kids' brains. We all should do it. But it also means that they may be more proficient in one than the other, and that will also change over time. Your childhood center's curricula should provide many opportunities for speaking and listening. Again, that is not just you as the teacher telling everybody what to do all the time. That is sitting down with children and having conversations, talking to them during snack time about what's going on, sitting in the block area for a while and just talking about what they're building. Some children need to be taken to other places in order to speak. Group time is not the only time for speaking and listening, okay? You need to do small groups. You need to do one-on-one stuff because sometimes you have a kid who just won't talk in the classroom. It's overwhelming. There's too much going on. They can't think straight in the classroom. I had a kid that I used to take every day with me to go get snack, and we would have a lovely conversation, but he would not talk in the classroom, right? Encouragement to build new knowledge. You should be helping them learn new stuff. And that's in a variety of ways. It's not just you saying, oh, today we're going to learn about apples. Apples are red. Apples have seeds inside. Apples have a skin. No, that is taking them to the apple orchard. That is talking about apples, reading poems about apples, singing songs about apples, eating apples, touching apples, right? Encouragement to build new knowledge is giving them experiences. At this age, that's how they learn. Promote children's biculturalism to help build family connection. This one can be tough. Sometimes children and parents lose some connection because the children are speaking English at school and they're speaking whatever language at home. The parents may not be proficient English language speakers, so they don't know what's going on. It makes it harder for those children. And so it's important that you try to help them as much as you can to keep that family connection. Always encourage the use of books. There's never any time when you should not be encouraging the use of books with children. Successful methods for teaching. Emphasize keywords in a sentence, right? When you're reading a book to them, talk about what are the important words. And you know what the words are based on where they are developmentally. If they're an infant, it might be cat. Oh, the cat says meow, right? Learn how to correctly pronounce the child's name. As we become a majority minority country, we have more and more different names out there. My daughter is a freshman in high school and she on Zoom, and she was talking about how she was in a chat room with 3 other kids and their names were Rhett, Bess, Shaka, and Adderley. And I told her when I was a freshman in high school, if I had been in a chat room, which there wasn't, that was a thing, but if I had been in a group of 4, there was a pretty good chance it would have been Amy, Jennifer, Michelle, and Mark, right? And then the next group over of 4 would have been Amy, Jennifer, Michelle, and Mark. Maybe there was a Mike, maybe there was a Chris, maybe there was a Sue, but like everybody had the same names. Now, even if you have the same name, it may not be spelled the same way. It's super duper important that you know kids' names and pronounce them the right way. If you can't figure it out, ask the kid. If you can't figure it out, ask the parent. But make sure, like, how would you feel if your name was, I don't know, Gina, and it was spelled Jena, and all of your teachers kept calling you Jenna, right? No, you're not Jenna, you're Gina. And so it's important that, you know, that's a sense of self thing. Help the child realize he is unique and special exactly as is. So for those kids who are from other cultures, who may be bilingual, who may be English language learners, make sure that they know that it is cool and it is special that they are an English language learner. Don't make it a big deal for everybody in the class. Oh my gosh, everybody, Maria speaks Spanish. Make them feel unique and special, not weird and different. And you can always help English language learners by linking them up with proficient English speakers. So pair them up. Okay, you always want to have extensive and varied exposure to meaningful print for all students, but especially for English language learners. So what you might do in your preschool classroom is label everything in the classroom with a picture of what it is and the words for what it is in English and Spanish or whatever language kids are bringing into your classroom. Explicit and systematic instruction in phonemic awareness. This is phonics, and this is important. For a while, we thought phonics wasn't that important, but it is. Knowing how to put sounds together to make words is an important thing, and it's okay to talk about it and be explicit about it. Same thing with letter sound correspondence. So you want to know how the sounds go together and you want to know what letters make the sounds. And it's okay to really be explicit in teaching that. You can still make it fun. It doesn't have to be worksheets. Cultural differences will influence a child's interaction. The way adults in different cultures interact with children affects how children interact with other adults outside that culture. So, in some cultures, children are taught to be very quiet, to not speak unless spoken to. That's going to be a thing in the classroom. You know, you may have some kids who are over here who are super quiet, and over here they're crazy and out of control. And that can come from the culture. Multicultural education is essential. It prepares children for a diverse society and promotes communication despite differences. I am a little bit sad for children who grew up like myself in a small town where everybody looks the same, speaks the same language, and goes to the same churches and, is homogenized. When everybody's the same, it's not realistic. That's not the way the world works. That's not, once you get out of that little bubble, that's not the world that you're most likely going to live in. And so it's important that we expose children to a variety of different cultures and backgrounds. Even if there aren't people in our little world who come from that background, it's a good idea to make kids aware that there are other things out there in the world. Promote acceptance. Like I said, promote cultural awareness. Help kids understand that there's a wide world around them with a lot of different people, and utilize families as partners. Families who come from other cultures will most likely be thrilled to have an opportunity to share their culture in your classroom. But once again, make them feel special and unique, not weird and different. Try to understand family traditions, seek common ground, believe that each child is welcome and precious, and avoid making value judgments. Just because someone looks a certain way or talks a certain way doesn't mean that they are any less intelligent or experienced as you. They may have all kinds of knowledge and experiences that you don't even know about. English as a second language programs. Read over this in your text. It's important to know how different programs work. Families as partners. Again, most families value education. Literacy interaction takes place in the home. Talking, listening, reading, writing. There's a lot of that going on in the home. So you need to be respectful of that and understand how you can help parents leverage that, right? How you can help parents understand how to read books to children and how to choose books. Okay. Special needs, 2 main categories for communication disorders. Once again, we don't say special needs children, we say children with special needs. Person first language, the person is a child first, their specific issue is second, right? So a child with a hearing disorder, not a deaf child, or a child with deafness, or a child with a speech and language disorder, not a stuttering child or whatever. Like it says, hearing disorders are an inability to hear sounds clearly. Speech and language disorders impact the way people talk and understand. Often hearing disorders lead to speech and language disorders, which is why it's so important that we catch hearing disorders early on. Language delay could be because of brain development issues. It could be because of hearing related issues. It could be because of physical issues. The teeth, the tongue, the lips, the mouth may not be formed correctly, or it may be weak. The muscle development may not be there. So that needs to be addressed. Resistance to learn standard English as a second language. Sometimes kids are resistant just because their parents may not be encouraging it, whatever. At the cloistered child and the overstressed child. A child who has lots of older siblings may not have opportunities to talk and work on their language development, right? Because all the older sibs may be talking for them. And then expressive and receptive language difficulties, articulation, voice disorders, stuttering. These are, the sort of physical manifestations of language difficulties. Other considerations, other conditions may be frequent crying, avid talkers and shouters, some of those kids that talk all the time, questioners, people that are constantly asking questions, and then learning disabilities. 1 out of every 300 children is born with a permanent hearing loss. But the good news is there are many, many ways that children with permanent hearing loss can develop communication skills. And as I've said before, you have to have communication skills to build personal, social, emotional relationships. So it's very important. Babies in Illinois hospitals have their hearing tested before they leave the hospital, but it's important to continue to have hearing tests going forward periodically, especially during those first 5 years as children are developing their language skills. Teachers need to look for signs of hearing loss. Maybe kids have a hard time paying attention. Maybe it's because they can't hear what's going on. Maybe they don't offer appropriate responses to questions. Maybe it's because they can't hear. Maybe their ears hurt all the time. So if you see those things happening, obviously your first step is to say, hey, to the parents, have you noticed that when you say Sally's name, you have to say it 3 times really loud to get her attention? Or have you noticed that when you're talking directly to Sally, she doesn't respond in an appropriate way? Maybe there's a hearing issue that we need to have checked out. Okay, so there you go.